the exciting things that we're doing, Ranger for CHA, is we're actually introducing 12 new colors in the Distress palette, but we're doing things a little different. In the past, when we've launched new products, we've always focused on a product category. Either we're launching markers, or we're working on paint, or working on sprays or stains. This year, we're really committing to expanding the Distress palette in new ways by introducing a different color every month. And that color is going to come in all your favorite products: ink pad, marker, re-inker, stain, spray stain, and paint. The cool thing is, nobody knows what the new colors are except myself and the chemist until the first of the month. So the entire calendar year is a secret of what the color is, and the first of the month you'll know what the new color is and they'll ship it out in the product. And from a retailer aspect, it's great because there's an opportunity for a nice display in your store, a little point of purchase, but I think also for the crafter like myself, it's something to look forward to throughout the year of different ways that we can work with the product. So January's color is called Cracked Pistachio, and this is a really great green. Distress to me really means vintage, anything nostalgic. It doesn't always necessarily mean grunge, and I think sometimes people confuse distress with grunge. Grunge is brown and black and rusty and chippy, and that's cool, but distress is just vintage. So this has a very vintage influence to it, kind of like a retro green. So for people that are looking for brighter colors, this is a really nice bright color, but for someone like me, I love the ability to include this color with colors that I'm comfortable with to create new colors. So for example, if I wanted to take the spray stain and maybe mix it with something a little dingy, what if I'll go too brown? Let's maybe take something like pumice stone, which is a great blend. I can take the Distress spray stain, spray that down. That's some Cracked Pistachio. This is a little bit of pumice stone. And I'll utilize just a heat tool just to dry this. And maybe I'll even add some water to it. So while I'm drying it, I'll just spritz it with a little bit of water. That's going to get that kind of reactive property going. But what's cool about this is you'll see for this particular one, the more we blend, in other words, the more water that maybe I add to an area, the more we're going to get these colors to blend, and Cracked Pistachio and pumice stone actually become kind of a turquoise blue color on the blend. You can blend it with a lot of different colors though, not just this. So every single month when we do a new color, I'll be sharing tips throughout the month of different ways that you can take the new color and blend it with the existing colors to create new effects and new looks, because that's the whole evolution of Distress. Just continue to evolve the palette and do new and cool and colorful things. So this one, really great color blend, but let's take that same idea and maybe we'll just get the back of some white cardstock. That's fine. Maybe I want to take just some blending foam. I'm just going to steal one from here. Now another cool thing that we're doing new at CHA is we introduced the mini Distress inks last year. We sold them in sets of 4, and they were 4 random colors that I thought really worked well together. Now that we've released the 48 colors in the minis, we're now selling these individually, open stock. So if you didn't buy the kits, or maybe you've used a kit but you have your favorite that you need to replace, or maybe you're a teacher and you want to teach with the same color, you can now buy the colors of minis individually, which is very cool, I think. But another great thing is the ability to store them. So in the mini Distress ink storage tin, a lot of people don't realize there's a tray system in the bottom. So if your tin is not full, your ink pads are not going to slide around. So if you're building your collection, you can start building your collection that way. But one thing I like to do is, I'm still this guy. I'm still this inker at home. I'm a full-time inker. I ink every day, so I still want the large ink pad, the larger blending foam, because that's what I'm going to do. But if you're what I refer to as the occasional inker, you know, the person that maybe doesn't want to ink all the time, maybe you want to ink occasionally on a card or a scrapbook page, whatever, the minis are really convenient. Also, if you like to take classes, it's a great way. I mean, here's all 48 colors in 4 different tins. So what I've done is, at home I'm still the ink spinner, dedicated color, but when I travel, I take a mini blending tool, my mini blending foam, and I have a mini blending foam tucked under every single color, because the foam fits right underneath the ink pad. So you can just take it, it pops right in. So when I want to switch color, I'll just go, I'll touch that, I've got a color for that, take off the foam, push it right back under there, and move on to the next one. So let's say I want to blend some colors. Here I'll go in and take some Vintage Photo, so I'll just press that on there, pick up my color, take a little bit of Vintage Photo. Little tips. This was a tough secret to keep, because when we launched the minis before the tin, And so the whole thing about that was really their stackable feature, because they're stackable. They're not interlocking, they're not locking caps, so if you stack them and throw them in a bag, yes, the lids are gonna fall off the same way this would if I threw it in a bag. But I knew all along that the tin was coming, so I was like, I don't want to talk about the foam, because once the foam is in there, they really don't stack well because they're kind of squishy. So it's like, okay, we'll just talk about stacking. But then once we had the tin, I'm like, okay, now I can share the tip of the fact of, you know, why, because everyone's like, why is the foam bigger than the tool? I'm like, well, for a couple of reasons. One, if I'm going to go through a stencil, whenever I push down on this, it lifts up the edge of that. But this particular size was so when I take this off, it's going to just fit snug in the back, and it just makes it easy. So now you know. The secret's out. So I'm going to steal the foam from Shabby Shutters just for my cracked pistachio right now, just to show you that if I blend this color, I'm going to get a completely different blend than I did when I had pumice stone. So pumice stone with cracked pistachio, we've got kind of those shades of blues. Here we have a much richer color because we've got the reds of Vintage Photo, so we have more of that kind of coppery patina. So really cool. I mean, here we can see this one is cracked pistachio on metal. But because I wanted to antique that, distress doesn't work on metal. The only thing that works in the distress line on 6 surfaces is paint. Distress paint is the only permanent product in the line. So when I wanted to do this, I painted this first with cracked pistachio, let it dry, and then because I wanted to ink a surface, I jumped over to alcohol inks and just took some alcohol ink, mushroom, and just went over the top of that. And that's how we create kind of that really cool vintage patina. It's so easy to do. I'll just do this little piece just to show you. Touch of paint, just like that. We can go in with our fingers just to paint it. You can use a paintbrush, whatever you're comfortable doing. I prefer hands-on. I'll put that on there. Go. Got a little towel. I'm going to dry this really quick. I'm just using a heat tool. Now, if you're going to use a heat tool, obviously to dry anything on metal, just know that the metal gets hot. Doesn't take very long for this to dry. And then to antique it, I'm going to use alcohol inks, but instead of using the applicator that I would use for a background, I'm just going to use the piece of felt. It's just a simple way to apply it. Because if you drip it on, you're going to cover too much of the paint. Here we're just using it as an accent. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that, and I'm just going to go in and just touch a couple of areas. And just like that, we've created.
Right. Very cool.
Super simple. So